He's Ross Tucker, our good buddy, Westwood One CBS Sports NFL college football analyst and host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Give me some logic behind what the Falcons did last night.
Well, I would say, Dan, when in doubt in the NFL, in my experience, look for the decision makers to make decisions that they believe is in their best interest for their job security and or job preservation. And I believe at some point, the Falcons GM, Terry Fontenot, and the head coach, Raheem Morris, were talking, and they realized, hey, we're probably going to be pretty good the next couple of years with Kirk Cousins. The NFC South's not that great. We will be in the mix. Maybe we'll win the division, be in the playoffs. But if we get a guy like Penix now, then year 3, maybe year 4, we have a succession plan in place to the point where Arthur Blank isn't going to fire them before Penix at least has 1 year, maybe even 2. So I think those guys essentially, Dan, bought themselves a 4-year runway, maybe even 5, but a 4-year runway with a couple of years of Cousins, probably a couple of years of Penix. And I think that's a big reason why they did what they did. Frankly, I think it's selfish. And this is coming from a former player's perspective. I think it's borderline disrespectful to guys like Jake Matthews at left tackle, Grady Jarrett, defensive tackle, even Kirk Cousins, who probably won't even still be on the team and playing by the time Penix plays. It really, really bothers me.
Yeah, but Arthur Blank has to go, hold on, explain this to me. And I would imagine he would have veto power in the war room, because if you said to me, hey, we just signed this guy for $100 million, and granted, we shouldn't, he's 35 coming off Achilles surgery, and we're going to fall in love with Michael Penix Jr., and we're going to take him, and we need defense, and now we can be that surprise team. Maybe we could be the Detroit Lions. Maybe we're that next team to step up. I just can't imagine that they convinced Arthur Blank, hey, this is the right guy for 3 years down the road. We don't even know if Arthur Blank's going to be alive in 3 years. He's 81. From every angle, as much as I liked Penix, I didn't like him that much, and I don't want him to sit for 3 years.
Well, and Dan, at a minimum, okay, even if you liked the move, it is an over-allocation of resources in the same offseason. They say they like the Green Bay Packer model. Well, first of all, the Green Bay Packers already had their franchise quarterbacks. They didn't just sign them to 4-year deals. And also, those guys, Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, fell to them in the 20s, which, by the way, eviscerates the Falcons' whole argument that you can only get these guys in the top 10, and we're not going to be drafting here, and you got to get them now. First of all, Penix was the 4th quarterback to go off the board, okay? Let's not act like this was Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams. He was the 4th guy off the board, and the Packers were able to get franchise quarterbacks in the 20s. To do it the same, Dan, they gave Kirk Cousins a no-trade clause. Like, where is the foresight? If you liked Penix this much, and you signed Cousins the second week of March, if you thought there was any chance that you would draft Penix at 8, you don't give Kirk Cousins that contract and a no-trade clause so that you can't even get any recoupment of the assets when you move on from Cousins. He's not going to let you trade him. He's like, nope, veto, nope. You're going to have to cut Cousins and give him the $10 million that's still guaranteed in 2026. I think it's one of the worst moves I've seen in a long time. I know some Falcons fans feel like, hey, it means we're going to be good for the next 10 to 12 years. Yeah, well, maybe, but Michael Penix might stink. And not only that, there were a bunch of teams that wanted to trade up to get him, like the Saints, like the Raiders, reportedly. The Falcons could have traded down, still gotten the number 1 defensive player in the draft, whoever they thought that was, and gotten other assets and cemented themselves as the clear favorite in the NFC South to actually get to the playoffs for the first time in 7 years since 2017 and host a home playoff game. But no, they didn't want to do that. They're worried about their own job. I think it's a selfish move by the GM and head coach. That's my read on it from a player's perspective.
What else bothered you last night?
I don't know that anything else really bothered me. I guess the thing that surprised me, and maybe surprise isn't the right word, but I've had so many guys come on my show, Dan, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, just like you have on your show, right? And I'm telling you, the only unanimity, the only consensus was what all the quarterback gurus I spoke to said about Jaden Daniels and Drake May. Every guy, Greg Cosell, Phil Simms, Chase Daniel, they all love Jaden Daniels. He's the best pure progression reader of the group. He's the best pure pocket passer. We know about him as a runner. Dan, none of them said positive things about Drake May. I mean, he was called raw. Phil Simms said his tape was disappointing, misses too many layups, doesn't have the throw-to-throw accuracy. It's just wild for me. I don't pretend to be a quarterback guru. I don't sit there and watch 5 games and talk about the guy's footwork. But I have all these guys come on my show. They all loved Jaden Daniels. They all had major concerns about Drake May. I just think it's very interesting, kind of wild that those guys went back to back.
Yeah.
Given, the feedback I had gotten on both players.
Well, we had somebody from Pro Football Focus, Trevor Sikkema, and he said, look, I went back and looked at throws by Jaden Daniels. He goes, he's the quarterback I have more questions about. He said he doesn't throw it over the middle. And the throws that he was really good at in college are going to be really hard to complete a high percentage. And he said, so I've got real concerns about him, which I found interesting. Tim Hasselbeck, the former quarterback, he loved Drake May, loved. And, from the last couple of months here, Orlovsky loved him. It just feels like there's people who are in your camp and realize that, okay, maybe you are raw, but you have that potential to be something a little more special. My problem with this is I would rather go to Washington than I would New England because at least I have some offensive weapons. That's why Caleb Williams will succeed. I mean, they already have pieces in place. You get a Dunze, which I said to Paulie, you guys are contenders. The Bears are contenders after last night. But I can't say that about New England. I wouldn't have taken a quarterback there, no matter how much I liked him.
You know what's so funny to me about that, Dan? The people that support Drake May, right? And again, I don't pretend to be a quarterback guy, but the people that support him say, well, he didn't have any receivers last year at North Carolina. The offensive line wasn't good. Now you're going to send him to the Patriots? I mean, have you seen the Patriots roster?
He could have stayed another year.
Offensive line and wide receiver?
Yeah, stay at North Carolina another year instead of going to New England. Yeah,
I mean that's not a good fit. Maybe the thought process is he's used to having bad receivers and a bad O line. Maybe that's why they took him. And I hear these Josh Allen comparisons. I'm like, okay, well, he's not 6'5", 250. He doesn't run over people like Josh Allen. Josh Allen has like the strongest arm I've ever seen. I don't like the Josh Allen comparisons for Drake May. Just because a guy struggles in some areas, don't tell me he's Josh Allen. How many guys have really improved like Josh Allen did? Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. Those are the 2 guys I can really think of right now that greatly improved from college and during their NFL career in terms of throwing the ball and accuracy.
The Giants had the opportunity to take their quarterback. Now, I was told that they wanted Drake May or they were going to stay put, and then they were going to take a wide receiver. I didn't buy into the J.J. McCarthy, we're going 1 through 4. Didn't buy it. Minnesota got him, and it's a good situation for him. So the Giants passed on a quarterback. Your reaction was what?
Job security. Yeah. I mean, it just goes back to the same thing I was talking about with the Falcons. I think Joe Shane, the GM, Brian Daboll, the head coach, they know last year was a disaster. They know they have to win this year. Do you have a better chance to win with J.J. McCarthy as a rookie and all these pedestrian receivers they have? Or can you hope that Jones comes back from the injury, plays like he did 2 years ago, and now that you actually give him a legit explosive receiver. I mean, Malik Neighbors is a dude. You watch him, he is fun to watch. This is their best chance to have a winning season, to maybe make the playoffs.
Wait,
and for Daboll and Joe Shane to still have those jobs.
No, let me use your logic. If I wanted to keep my job longer, I would have taken J.J. McCarthy, because now you're going to give me the opportunity to reset, and now I get 3 or 4 more years. That's what you just said the Falcons are doing. They're ensuring you get to keep your job because you just drafted Michael Penix. So why wouldn't the Giants, if the coach and GM want to hold their job, you take the quarterback of the future?
Well, I think it would have to go well for the Giants. Otherwise, they would move on from them, because they would say, you gave Daniel Jones all that money, and then you moved on from him after a year, and the rookie quarterback's not looking real promising. I think the difference, and by the way, the Falcons management, they might only get 1 year with Penix. So they might have only bought themselves for sure 3 years, because Cousins has $100 million guaranteed. Cousins is their quarterback the next 2 years, barring injury. Although even that part of it bothers me, Dan. He's a top 10 pick. What's going to happen when Cousins throws 3 picks? On the radio in Atlanta, they're going to say, maybe it's time to put the kid in there. Maybe they should put Penix in there. They set themselves up for a terrible, terrible situation.
Are you okay? I think somebody... Did you guys say something negative about Ross with my retirement, and if Ross was going to put his name in the hat and take over?
I know his name was thrown around the room and someone said something.
Who said something?
Fritzy,
did you say something negative about Ross Tucker last week?
I don't think so.
Yes, he did. Fritzy said I would spike your drink.
Oh, I did say that.
To try to expedite the process.
I said that in jest, but I did in fact say that he'd be most likely to try to end things for you. So he can
I didn't take it in jest.
It was meant to be tongue-in-cheek. I don't think I'm that mean.
I know. Ross would not do that.
It really hurt, Fritzy.
I apologize. That was supposed to be a joke.
Me ever since I saw the clip.
Don't do that. You know I'm sensitive, and that was totally a joke. Although
no, it hurt.
He's sensitive, Todd.
Me about it. My mom was crying about it. It hurt.
And Mother's Day is almost coming up. That was just very bad timing.
Yes, Paul.
And if Ross were going to do something to take you out, it wouldn't be poison. It'd be something physical. It'd pile drive you, DDT, something like that.
No, but if you
I would poison the spicy mustard on a Meat Friday, probably.
Take us all out in one fell swoop.
Yeah. So
well
if
done.
you do want to put your name in the hat with Chris Mannix, publicly, I mean, now's your time.
3.5 years from now sounds like a long time.
Well, hey,
listen.
just tell that to the Falcons and Kirk Cousins.
I will say this, Dan, and you know this because I've told you this. There's nothing more. My 2 favorite things to do in all of my career, all media, are call a game and fill in for you. My 2 favorite things by far. They're just so fun. It's an incredibly good time. So the chance to do that every day, that would be insane someday.
All right. In 3.5 years. What happens first, though?
Can I be your Michael Penix Jr., Dan?
You would be. Yes. You'd wait for 3.5 years. Thank you, Ross.
Of course. Great talking with you guys.
That's Ross Tucker. Got his own football podcast, Westwood One, CBS Sports. All right.